Yo, what's up, y'all? This your man B coming to you. I am the brand. With the drum call, and this my daily book report for you, book reviews. This week we talking about Hyperion Cantos by Dan Simmons, one of my favorite sci-fi books. Oh my bad, I got the new season of Castlevania in the background. Check it out. This ain't really good. I got the origin of species by Charles Darwin. This joint a must-have for the history and scientific scholars. And I got the education of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. This is a lesser known relic among early writings of Carter G. Woodson and Black history. So let's get into it. This one right here, Hyperion Cantos, man. So that was my book, young. That joint, like, is way more in depth than like Star Wars or it's on par with Dune to me. Dune is one of my favorites, and Hyperion is one of my favorites. But this one is not this big. It's this is 3 books in one right here. This is Hyperion, the Fall of Hyperion, and I believe Endymion is in here. But I got this book separately, but this is it right here. And so with this book, it starts in the 29th century. It's dealing with, most of it, take place on this planet called Hyperion, which is outside of the hegemony of man, which is a 200 planet conglomeration within the universe, right? And so, right, Hyperion is on the outskirts, where people worship this thing called the Shrike on Hyperion. And so they do like the Hajj every year, and it's like millions of pilgrims that go to Hyperion on these ships and stuff like that. So pretty much it's constructed like the Canterbury Tales. So it's like from the perspective of several different people who are on this pilgrimage to Hyperion. Say hello.
Hi, but Daddy.
All right, thank you. Watch out, Alex.
Daddy, hello.
Okay. And now, it's the 29th century. It's an alliance with the AIs out here. So, you got the humans and you got artificial intelligence, and that's all living together. You got cyborgs and all that. So then you got you travel. The way you travel, right, is vicious, because you experience the time dilation if you travel the regular way. But then they got forecasters too. So like, it's these things that's like teleportation devices, right? So in the instant you go through it and you're in wherever you want to go. And so if you take this route, and this is within the hegemony of man, you go instantly to another planet or wherever you want to go within that conglomerate space. And so like houses you could have a room that goes into a whole different planet. You can have a structure that when you leave, it goes into a whole nother planet and stuff like that. So there's this thing that makes it possible that people don't understand, which is the void that binds. And that's what people trying to understand in here and within the story. So the story combines a lot of religious philosophy and literary references in it throughout. So you got like the cruciform, which helps people to to what is it? To resurrect after traveling light speed, faster than light speed. You know, so when you travel faster than light speed, it destroys your body. But with this cruciform, it'll resurrect your body. And then you have,
Daddy.
you know,
It's Chantel.
hold on, Alex. And then you have, you know, you have several references to Muslim philosophy and Muslim religion. You have several references to Christianity. You have several references to like John Keats, which is he's actually a character within the book. And so the first book goes first by the priest's tale, the soldier's tale, the poet's tale, the scholar's tale, the detective's tale, and the counsel's tale. And then, you know, it all comes together at the end, and it's really good. Like I said, it's really good. It's set up like the Canterbury Tale, and it'll definitely keep you like, I gotta turn the next page. I gotta turn the next page. So check this joint out whenever you get a chance. It's called Hyperion Cantos. So I got the more serious book, The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin, and you know that's for us scientific minded folk. You know, dealing with evolution. It goes through everything as far as, you know, evolutionary theory. It's built upon earlier works by the likes of like Charles Lyell, William Paley, and John Baptiste Lamarck, and several others. He explains his theory using variations under domestication. So that's like you know, the various types of species that you can see under domestication, which was brought up under domestication. And then you have like the variations in nature, which, you know, which tells you about the species with similar variations, but that happen within nature by itself. Then it goes about the struggle for existence, you know, the competition and survival of the fittest and stuff like that, you know. So then it gets into natural selection, laws of variation. Everyone you're familiar with natural selection. It goes further in details about that. Then it goes on to talk about like difficulties with the contrary theories that were out at that time. You got that instinct, hybridism. It goes into the imperfection of geological records, geological succession of organic beings, and, you know, it it's very interesting. For example, it says in natural selection, no country can be named in which all the native inhabitants are now so perfectly adapted to each other and to the physical conditions under which they live, that none of them could anyhow be improved. For in all countries, the natives have been so far conquered by naturalized production that they have allowed foreigners to take firm possession of the land. And as foreigners have thus everywhere beaten some of the natives, we may safely conclude that the natives might have been modified with advantage so as to have better resisted such intruders. So, I mean, like, it's very... to me, it's very against. Well, it's very influential to like eugenics and stuff like that. It says nothing to technology and you know and
because it's an unusual book to find
culture and ethnicities and stuff like that. It just goes on to which one is the fittest, and so if it's fittest, then it must be better. You know, that's pretty much how it goes. Better for society as far as natural. I mean, better for nature as far as with natural selection, meaning there's no there's no feelings in nature. You know, whatever happens is because it's due to you know, competition and survival of the fittest. As man can produce and certainly has produced a great result of by his methodical and unconscious means of selection, what may not nature affect. Man can act on external and visible characters. Nature cares nothing for appearances, except insofar as they may be useful of any being. She can act on every internal organ, on every shade of constitutional difference, on the whole machinery of life. Man selects only for his own good. Nature only for that of that being which she tends. All right, so pretty much like I said, it's saying that when it comes to nature, it's no discrimination. You know, it's like whichever one wins is the strongest, is the fastest, is the most cleverest. So it lacks an understanding of sociology and anthropology and, you know, the trade that goes on between human activity and stuff like that. So where I can look for another passage for you. This is from Natural Selection as well. It says, but during the process of modification represented in the diagram, another of our principles, namely that of extinction, will play an important part, as in each fully stocked country, natural selection necessarily acts by the selected form having some advantage in the struggle for life over other forms. So in this one, this is not talking about humans, it's talking about animals, but it's pretty much saying that there's always a process of extinction that's going on during natural selection, which means that you won't really see any intermediate stages, because what works are always what's going to be the best, and what doesn't are always going to be the traits that are going to be left behind, but in slow, like in slow patterns. It's not really going to be any set pattern. So it goes on. I can, you know, I can give you a little bit more. Let's see. Oh yeah, and this part is funny because you can see that it's eugenic influence, him being influenced by eugenics right here. It says crustaceans, for instance, not the hold on. We may believe if all animals and plants of Great Britain were set free in New Zealand, then in the course of time a multitude of British forms will become thoroughly naturalized there and would exterminate many of the natives. On the other hand, from what we see now occurring in New Zealand, and from hardly a single inhabitant of the southern hemispheres having become wild in any part of Europe, we may doubt if all the production of New Zealand were set free in Great Britain, whether any considerable number would be enabled to seize on places now occupied by our native plants and animals. I mean, of course, like with this, I mean, New Zealand has a totally different environment, totally different climate, you know, than Great Britain, and it's in a totally different area of the world. Like, nothing really grows in Great Britain, but, you know, it's vastly, you know, you have vastly different climates in New Zealand, and it's abundance of growth in New Zealand. So, I mean, that doesn't even make sense what he's saying, because why would something be able to grow in Great Britain when there's nothing, you can't grow nothing in Great Britain except barley, like seriously. So, I mean, yeah, it's just, you know, you obviously have to, you know, be able to distinguish what's, you know, his prejudices and, you know, what's really objective science. And in my opinion, I don't believe in evolution. I believe in adaptation. I believe in a lot of the stuff that he says, but I don't really believe in evolution because, in my opinion, I don't see how, you know, a primordial soup can turn into the abundant life that we have on Earth right now. I just don't see it without any type of, you know, intervention from a higher power. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. This last one is very precious to me. It's called The Education of the Negro. Yeah, and my baby gonna read this book later on in life as well. But
No.
yes,
No.
yes. But I'm sure we all know about the miseducation of the Negro. I have it up there on the bookshelf, but we really don't have a lot or have not a lot of knowledge of the education of the Negro. You know, Carter G. Woodson was a famous sociologist and historian. He did a lot of his work here in D.C. Big up, and you know. This book goes into, it's like a social analysis of the education of the Negro before 1861. And so it talks about the education of the Negro during colonization and during slavery and during the push to end slavery. It starts, you know, it begins at its origin in America and it talks about the religion with letters, you know, so it talks about how the origin of black people's education in America is through religion, through Christianity. And what happened was you had pious masters or whatever, and you had a lot of French missionaries and Spanish missionaries that had come through and pity the black man in his state and would feel as though it was their duty to teach them how to read the Bible, to teach them the truth. It wouldn't really go past that without, you know, their own, you know, black people's own motivation. But Jesuits, you know, they were slaveholders, but they were particularly proud of teaching their slaves how to read and write and stuff like that. This is all in the 1600s, and then, you know, by the 1700s, you had schools that were specifically dedicated to the enhancement of Negroes at the time, and they were, you know, religious schools, and, you know, they were not only, you know, through education, they would teach them the religion, the truth of the religion. And so you had, he goes on to talk about, after that, you know, black people started believing education was a right to all men, and, you know, they had their allies to help them in that fight. And that was also through, you know, Christianity and through the religious and the church and stuff like that, the different churches. Then it talks about like actual education, you know, like the grade school education that started coming on and stuff like that. And then it talks about, let me see if I can read you something from here. Again, it said the work was organized by the abolitionists, but was generally maintained by members of the various sects, which did more for the enlightenment of the people of color through the anti-slavery organization than through their own. The support of the clergy, however, did not mean that education of the Negroes was continually incidental to the teaching of religion. The blacks were to be accepted as brethren and trained to be useful citizens. Okay, and that's about the actual education that came after what was going on in before the church. During while the church was helping out the education of the Negroes, and so it goes on to talk about how it went from rudimentary education just for religious purposes to useful education. So the advocates of useful education had more to say about training in the mechanic arts. Such instruction, however, was not then a new thing to the blacks of the South, for they had from time immemorial been the trustworthy artisans of that section. So after the movement to teach them about religion, the movement began to be about teaching them how to be useful. So you had to read and write, in order to learn how to be an artisan and do different industrial work that was coming on during that time. Let's see, it goes on. Oh yeah, it does talks about the reaction that was going on at the time. The opposition became clear because these newly educated blacks in the 1700s were starting to rise up. They started to rise up, and you had insurrection that came on. So it says, okay, the actual opposition of the masters to the mental improvement of Negroes, however, did not assume sufficiently large proportions to prevent the intellectual progress of that race until two forces then at work had time to become effective in arousing Southern planters to the realization of what a danger enlightened colored men would be to the institution of slavery. So they started getting hip, like, nah, we can't teach them because this might, cause an insurrection. These forces were the Industrial Revolution and the development of an insurrectionary spirit among slaves, accelerated by the rapid spreading of the abolition agitation. So that like learning, the masters became like. They became hip that learning was going to destroy their whole system, and so then you got that's when the states began to pull back on their liberal ideas about educating slaves, and you had places like Mississippi, which they already had a law to prevent the slaves, enacted in 1831 another measure to remove from them the more enlightened members of their race. All free colored persons were to leave the state in 90 days. Sheesh. Damn. I mean, it was crazy back then. They didn't want us to come up, and then it goes on. It talks about the literacy rate during when the transplanted when the people were in free states and stuff like that, and you got the statistics for how many attended school, and my bad, I know you probably can't see it clearly because of the sun, but yeah, it was a lot of the black population attending school, in various like 83,000. The whole population in Maryland was 83,000 black people. It was 1,300 in school. The state with the most people in school was New York. Had 5,000, 6,000 people in school at the time. in 1850. Then you had Ohio as well that had 5,000 people in the school at the time. I mean, it's really interesting when you think about it. And then, you know, it goes on to talk about higher education. You had, you know, the black people that were able to go on to higher education. I think it said, I forgot, I lost my page, where it had the first black person to go to school was in, I believe it's sometime in 1800, you know, 1821. But anywho, it goes on to talk about, you know, the black people who made it into school.
I don't think that's collecting.
The black people. Okay, here we go. Though the majority of the colored students scoffed at the idea of preparing for work in Liberia, their education for service in the United States was not encouraged. No Negro had graduated from a college before 1828 when John B. Russworm, a classmate of Honorable John P. Hill, received his degree from Bowdoin. You know, yeah, so that was, I guess he was the first one to earn a degree in 1828 in the United States, you know, so, you know, there was great strides going on before the Civil War for the education of the Negro, and that's what this book is about. You know, it's like, we can't sit here and believe that if there wasn't a class of us, class of Negroes at the time, or black people at that time that weren't educated, that, you know, most black people back then wanted to learn. They wanted to be educated. They wanted to learn how to read. You know, it's just some of us were able to take opportunities that we had, or create opportunities like Frederick Douglass was able to do, to learn and get educated. It's, you know, like I said, this is a very interesting book to pick up. It's a must need to be in your library. And yeah, let me give it to my lovely daughter who's been begging me to do her show and tell. So Alex, come on. Come on.
I'm ready.
She wants to do her show and tell, so
I have a show and tell, what I love. And I'm gonna show half of my elders. They do not want to see her real hair. If you do, tell me in the comments.
I can hear you through several
You have to make a comment. So
follow me on the Drum Call Network. You know, we on I Am the Brand, and yeah, we the best out here. We always doing book reviews, you know, having fun. I'm doing my sessions without, you know, that's not for the kids. Yeah, we just having fun learning. My baby want to show you her little LOL dolls.
So here's, hey, this is one of my, tell me in the comments if you want me to take this off and you want to see her real hair. So this is one. And this is my second. This one is super beautiful because I want to tell you her name. Her name is Sugar. If you already have her, you must know her name. Her name's Sugar if you don't not know. I do not know her name. So she's the glamorous one who has sparkles in her hair. See? It's cool. Okay,
right.
You know,
That's the last one.
Wait,
It doesn't seem fair, does it? You rid the world of
two more. So this one is naked. I don't have clothes. I want to get through this. Pretend it's clothes. So this is mine. Her don't have a body. Her naked. So she naked. So I'm not fun. I'm show y'all.
Okay.
And
You don't need to know that.
And this one is cute. I know I let her hair out. If you have her.
But he has so many.
I think her name Bossy Baby.
He can do so much for us.
Me.
Give us a future.
Yeah, I think her name. And it's cute.
Stays here because
All
It's the
right.
other Negro.
So say bye to everyone.
Wait, and I have one more.
We should
Come
do
on, Alex.
something for him.
This is my last name. Her name DJ. I love DJ.
All right, say bye to everyone.
Bye. I'm about to play.
Bye, y'all have a good one.
Lazy.
We out. Peace.
Peace. Wait, let's do ending one. Bye, guys.
Like eating.
Bye, guys.
Subscribe
Subscribe, follow.
and